So while we're waiting for everyone else to hop on or to see if anyone else joins, let me get started and kind of tell you a little bit about me and about Mid-Autumn or Moon Festival. And Nan, that's cool that you make your own masks too. Sewing is super fun. It's a great outlet to get away from everything that's going on in the world. Oh, I suppose I should give my husband a shout out because for the mask making, he does support me a lot. And he supports me in this too because I'm currently using his iPad to join you all, and I've got my computer screens in the background recording all the things that are going on. Let me talk a little bit of, let me first share. My name is Pam, and I am an ESOL instructor at Dallas College, the Richland campus. So I've got my Richland shirt here representing. And I am a Chinese American. I'm Chinese American, so I was born and raised here in the U.S., in California. Moved out to Texas in around 2016, and I've been in Texas ever since. But as a family, my family has always celebrated Moon Festival. It wasn't one of those strict like annual things that we committed to, but I do remember as a child, my mom would buy these little plastic lanterns that you could put batteries in and flip on and off, and I actually tried to get my hands on one to show you guys, but I wasn't able to. So maybe next year, maybe I'll prep, and next time I go over to Hong Kong or I'm in an Asian market and I see one, I'll buy it and I can show you guys next year. But I do have memories of going outside with the lanterns and turning them off and on and off and running around with my cousins, and just eating a lot of food. And of course, the tradition of gifting and receiving moon cakes. But I personally don't really like moon cakes. I think they're really heavy, and I read somewhere that calorie-wise, one moon cake is like having a huge burger with bacon and all the fixings on it. So, but usually you don't eat an entire moon cake. You'll cut it up into little pieces and share with friends and family. So it's been a long time since I've actually eaten a moon cake. I know we have them every year at Richland to share with all the students, but I don't really ever go and take a piece because it's just not my thing. But funny enough, on Thursday, I'll be hopping on to this Instagram live to attempt at making moon cakes. So hopefully you guys will join me on Thursday and watch me either successfully or utterly fail at making moon cakes. But either way, we'll have a great time. So yeah, that's a little bit about me, a little bit about my memories of Moon Festival. I have to echo what Michelle was saying, that you know, culturally, so many cultures celebrate the beginning of the end of the summer and the beginning of a new season. And I think that we can really feel it with the changing weather. It's not as hot, thank God. So it's just been really fun organizing these events for you all this week, and I hope you'll join us on Wednesday as well, as Professor Ikuko will hop on at 1 o'clock to show you all how to make origami rabbits, because in Japan they have a story, a Moon Festival, Mid-Autumn Festival story that involves a rabbit, which she'll tell you after I'm done with you all here. So before I begin, I'd really like to thank the Office of Student Life, ALAS, the Multicultural Center, and Anna Peasy for partnering with us. It takes a lot of organizing and a lot of people saying yes for us to be here with you today. And I would really love to thank Nan, Mo, Michelle, and Ikuko for your bravery in hopping on Instagram Live. Some of you for the first time to share our stories with our students. So that was really sweet and really brave. And if you see them around or you see them on Instagram, give them a kudos and a thumbs up, because it takes a lot to hop on these things and not know what's on the other end and just stream live and talk. So thank you all for all your efforts and all your partnership. And I should give a shout out to the Office of Student Life for always helping us with the flyers. And in the past, when we had these events on campus, for offering funding for food and to bring mooncakes to you all. Unfortunately, this year we can't do that because of COVID, but I'm sure we'll be back soon with more fun events in person. All right. So the story I have to share with you today is the story of Zhu Yuan Zheng. And you'll have to excuse my Chinese pronunciation of names because I speak Cantonese. These names are written in Mandarin Pinyin, so different languages in China, right? China and the Asian identity is so diverse. So this is really outside of the Cantonese Chinese language that I grew up speaking. But it's a story about a rebel army, and this story is a little bit of legend and a little bit of real history. So basically, the Mongol Empire and Mongolian rule started in China after the Song dynasty. And under Mongolian rule, folks didn't like it because, of course, I don't think any country enjoys being ruled by people coming in and conquering them. And we can look back in history and look to today and see things that are going on and that still reign true. So during the ending of the Song dynasty and the beginning of Mongolian rule, Mongolian rule lasted for quite a while in China, and towards the end, there were a lot of Chinese rebels who just wanted the Mongolian rule to end. And I'm not a historian, so if you are a Chinese historian and you see I'm getting some of these facts wrong, I've searched for them online, read up on a couple of things, but feel free to chime in the chat box. So basically, our story is towards the end of the Mongolian rule, and it features Zhu Yuanzhang, and he is basically tired of the Mongolian rule in China. And in real life, there was a rebel army, and he was part of it. And they were slowly starting to take back China. And by legend and by some reports, Mongolian rule was harsh. It's probably a bit true and a bit legend that the Mongols were harsh rulers and prone to overreaction and occasional acts of epic cruelty to keep their conquered Chinese subjects in line. So in the big city, life was very closely monitored. People were not allowed to gather in large groups, and informants reported on private conversations and the slightest hint of any kind of acts of inciting rebellion. So the Mongols were, according to legend, paranoid rulers, and they forbade the Chinese from owning any weapons. And it is, some legends say that every 10 families were allowed to have one knife, and some legends say that every single 3 families were allowed to have one knife. But either way, we know that but according to legend and according to some accounts of history, that the Chinese did not like the Mongolian rule. So because of this environment, of course, there was plotting of rebellion. And I'm sure as we're thinking about this story, we can think about things that are happening now in our country and in other countries, of people not liking the leadership that is in place and demonstrating and protesting and going out there. So you can kind of think of Zhu Yuanzhang and his group as those, except they had to do it in secret, okay? Because if they were overt about it, they would get crushed. So the story goes that the Chinese utilized the secret weapon of a mooncake to plan their rebellion. And some versions suggest that they used the mooncake and wrote Chinese, like, here's when we're going to rebel, letters and put it into the mooncake to pass it around, because the Mongolians couldn't read Chinese, and the mooncakes were a good way of delivering the message to people. And according to other legends, they used the mooncakes because Mongolians didn't like to eat mooncakes. So really the only people that would have received the mooncakes and received these secret messages were the Chinese citizens. So we're going to go with that the Chinese like to eat the mooncakes. But for whatever reason, the Mongols did not look into the mooncakes, and the rebels were able to sneak secret messages and plan for a rebellion to rise up at midnight on the evening of the festival, of the moon festival. And in short, the people got the message and they revolted against the Mongolians and ended their rule in 1368. And that's when Zhu Yuanzhang established a new Chinese dynasty, and that is what we know today as the Ming Dynasty. So a little bit of history mixed with legend. You know how these games of telephone usually works, I'm sure. There's some truth and then there's some added, extraness to it all. So that's the story I have to share with you today. And I remember hearing of this story growing up, along with the story that Mo shared with you all, the Chang'e story. Those were two of the popular ones in my household. And I particularly like this story, and it resonates with me because of the rebel spirit. I think that so many of my students that I interact with and my colleagues, we all have that rebel spirit in us, and that's why we push when we push for things to be better, and we're always rising up in hopes of establishing a more better and peaceful and equitable world. So the story is very close to my heart. Are there any questions, comments? Yes. Yay. Yeah, I love this story. So again, I want to thank you all for joining us today. We have one more story for you that will be read by Professor Ikuko, and she will be back on the Multicultural Center's Instagram page. And so for those of you who have been following us through, go ahead and hop back on over there. And she'll be there in a few moments if she isn't already live. And okay, I see. How many kinds of mooncakes are there? So traditionally, there's the red bean, the black sesame, and the lotus mooncakes fillings. But nowadays, there's like green tea, durian, different types of fruit, different types of nuts. And I should say that the mooncake, depending on which Asian culture you come from and how that culture celebrates, may be created a little bit differently. So on Thursday, I'll be making a lotus paste and a black sesame mooncake with you all. But there's so many varieties out there, and I think if you go to a Chinese bakery or a Vietnamese bakery, they'll have different things. Taiwanese has their own version of the mooncake that doesn't look like the traditional Chinese one. It's more of a flaky crust on the outside. So yeah, if you want to know more about the mooncakes, join us on Thursday. So one more plug, be sure to join us on Wednesday at 1 p.m. back on the Office of Student Life's Instagram for Professor Ikuko showing us how to make origami rabbits. And then on Thursday, join me again at 3 o'clock and we'll be making mooncakes together, and we'll have a good laugh at, hopefully I won't fail miserably at it all. So now, if you'll hop back over to the Richland College's Multicultural Center Instagram, Professor Ikuko will be waiting for you. And thank you all for joining me.